Hello, I'm Dave Gardy from US Vets TV studios near Washington, D.C. for this special presentation, the 7th Veteran Entrepreneurship Training Series program. And we have veterans from around the country tuning in, veteran-owned companies, and those that are interested in becoming veteran-owned companies, service-disabled veteran-owned companies. We welcome you to the 7th one, the one just prior to the summit, which will take place in February out in California. And to talk a little bit about that, I'm going to go to Al Renteria from Ops for Vets. Al, you there?
Dave, I'm here. Happy New Year. What a great way to start the new year with some great stuff. We got some great guests. I'll let you introduce them. But I want to start off the new year with sporting my new hat, my Christmas gift from my grandson, and talk about the impossible. You know, what you and I enjoy is taking the impossible and make it possible. But this year, I'm going to talk about the business battle buddies. And with me is my book that says Marine Battle Skills Training Handbook. For us veterans, this is what we've done during our career, rather be short-term, long-term, and business is all about the battle. So today, I believe your guest there is going to tell us how best to play the battlefield.
You look like ZZ Top. It's quite a look for you. But before we get into that, can you give us just a little overview about what will be happening in February out there?
Well, you know, I'm gonna defer that to Stan because I want him to tell us his perspective now that he's our CEO for Southwest Veteran Business Resource Center. But I got to tell you this much: we got 40,000 square feet, 2-day event. We're gonna keep everybody in house. We're gonna feed them until they're fat with information, and they don't have to pay for that. But let's see what Stan has to say.
Every girl loves a sharp-dressed man. Thank you, Al. I appreciate it. We're going to introduce Stan now, our first speaker today. We've got quite a program here. Stan Fujii is the Southwestern Veterans Business Resource Center, or SWVBRC CEO. He's live here in our studio. Stan, thanks for joining us. Maybe you could tell us about the February Summit.
I was really hoping it was going to be Al. Thank you, Al. So we're having the summit. It's coming up February 27th, 28th. We have a really good program set up. We're going to be having it from everything from having a really good portion on networking, developing the part where you're going to try to help you get in front of decision makers for the government and for the commercial side. So you can go out there and market what you do and try to get them to be convinced that you're the best person out there to provide the product or service that they're looking for. We're going to have breakout sessions with different training programs going on. We're going to have a whole session that's just set up just for women veterans. So we have a lot to look forward to.
Excellent. Now, give us a little overview for the people tuning in for the first time that don't know much about the Southwestern Veterans Business Resource Center. What is that all about?
We're really just a nonprofit set up. We're getting ready to celebrate our 10th year. We're looking at focusing on helping veterans figure out how to get into business. It's kind of odd because our mission is to help resolve the issue of homeless vets. But we're doing that through if you're going through your career or if you want to go through business, we really want to help you with that business section. We want to be that one-stop shop of helping you from where do I go to set up my business, how do I get my business plan set up, where do I go to do business development, how do I do business development, how do I find financing, who are some resources and battle buddies that I might be able to find. And also that's why we're bringing Tony on later, because we want to talk about different types of mentoring out there for both federal and commercial so that you can find a battle buddy and work it all out.
So give us an overview of some of the other things you were going to tell us about today.
What I really wanted to talk about was going out there and I know, like for myself, when I do a lot of things, I like to do it on my own. I believe that if I'm going to accomplish something, I want that full possession. And that's great for a lot of businesses when you get started because you're the one, you're the name, you're the face, you're the one who goes out and does everything. But as you start to develop, as you start to grow, you have to find some teaming partners, other folks in your network. You have to build a network so that you can now rely on other folks, because to try to do it on your own is almost impossible. I found out for myself, I was trying to get into another networking group, and so I had to call on a couple of my friends, sat there and said, hey, do you know anyone who belongs to this other organization? They said, yeah, let me make some intros, and then that helped me glide into some other affiliates. So in some of the nonprofits that I work with, I'm now related to a lot of them because, and I got onto the board of a couple of them just because I networked with other people and brought it all together. It's not something I would have been able to do on my own. I had to have teammates to do that. And that folds into business, because as you're growing your business, you're going to find out that this may be where you're good at, but as your business starts to grow, you may start to fumble a little bit because you can't handle it all. So I may need now to start delegating things out to other people, or hiring some other subcontractors or teaming partners. I may need to go out and find some mentors. And the mentor doesn't necessarily have to be in your field. I do consulting, but I do a lot of sort of discussions, brainstorming with a lot of folks that I know that are in construction or IT, because the concepts that they have, how they develop their business is really amazing. One of the best mentors I had was in construction. And if you're wondering why would a consultant have a mentor who's in construction, it's because think of a general contractor. What is the one thing that they have? They have the ability to look at a plan, get the plan implemented, make sure that all licenses, certificates, inspections, everything has to be done on a certain timeline. During that time frame, as a general contractor, they're not the ones that are doing everything. They have someone doing the excavation. They have someone doing concrete. They have someone doing siding, plumbing, electrical, whatever it may be. Everyone has to be at that particular place at the same time. Or at the right time, not same time, but the right time, so that the project meets its timeline. Same thing with manufacturing. If you look at manufacturing plants, they have to do the same thing. They have to make sure everything's going on. They have to make sure they have supplies coming in at the proper timeline. Otherwise, they're going to fall behind schedule. So I love having mentors that have this wide variety or diversity of stuff that they can teach me, because then that helps me grow and helps me grow my business and helps me help other folks.
Now, one of the things we try to do is outreach to the veteran-owned companies that participate with this and communicate with them. And one of the things that always seems to pop up is financing. Growing your business, insulating it for capital issues that arise, like cash flow. You may have a federal contract this happens where you won't get paid on it right away. You're going to have to wait to get payment. You still have to pay subcontractors and people. Give us some perspective of how important financing is, because that's a little bit of a theme for the program today. Because one of our new sponsors that's coming on board is Amerifi at AMERIFI, Amerifi.com, which wants to outreach to veteran-owned businesses to help them finance. And we've worked with this company. So financing, give us your perspective on that.
It's the lifeline of the company. If you don't have the finances, if you don't have the money coming in, what are you going to do? So you're going to sit there and you're going to borrow off your credit cards. You're going to ask family and relatives and friends for financing. You can go to the other side, which is I'm going to go to the bank. If I'm going to go to the bank, like for myself, I really built a relationship with the bank VPs and the folks that are over there, because when I walk in the door, I want them to know who I am. I don't produce a lot of income. I don't have a very large business, but when I walk in, it's kind of like, oh, Stan, you're here, or Mr. Fujii, you're here. It's like, what do you need? It's like, oh, I just came in to do a deposit, or I'm looking at what are the best ways to get a line of credit or financing, because I just need a little bit more money to do this other project. And they're like, oh, let's come on in, come in our office, let's discuss it. You got to have that hands-on working relationship with your bank. And then if your bank isn't providing that, go find one that will. And then I came from the U.S. Small Business Administration, and if you need help, go to them. Find out what banks in your area do small business loans, which ones are really small business friendly, which ones do the most loans, what types of loans, because different banks do different types of loans. So if you just need working capital, there may be certain branches that do that. And if you're going to another bank that doesn't really concentrate on that, you're not going to get it. Or if you need receivable financing, there's only a few banks out there that really focus on receivable financing and understand it. So you want to find a bank that does that. And there's resources like Small Business Development Centers, SBA, Economic Development Centers, whoever it may be. And then for veterans, the Veterans Business Outreach Centers, VBOX, you can go to those as well and find out, where can I go to get that done? And that's where, again, you got to have your network, you got to have your financing in place. Start off easy. Always go to the bank that you're doing business with now, and then if they can help you, great. If they can't help you, don't turn them away. You can always open up another account at another bank, while keeping your existing bank. You never want to ruin a relationship with a bank.
Yeah, you make a very good point, and I think receivables financing, also known as factoring invoices, selling your invoices basically, is an area where I think can help a lot of these veteran-owned companies that are waiting just to get paid by the federal government, especially if it's a federal invoice. Any contracting invoice, that's money in the bank and to them. You're going to pay a premium for getting that money up front, but if you're in a cash flow bind, you need something like that. Now you mentioned the SBA. Do you have any perspective or feeling for how good the SBA 7A loan program is?
Coming from the SBA, it's the best thing.
Now you can give us your opinion.
It's a really neat program. The main thing you have to realize is what exactly are you looking for? What type of financing are you looking for? Where is your company? Is your business plan up to date? Because without a business plan, you walk into the bank, they may talk to you, but when you start talking about real money and real financing, they're going to look at you and say, well, you're not really in business. You're not really looking at it. Folks that are out there that you already have your business plan already set up, and I'm not talking about like a couple pages. I'm talking about you know exactly where you're going and what you're going to do with that money. When you walk into the bank, it's almost like you get that one shot. It's like meeting an in-law for the first time, or future in-law. You're going in there. You want to put your best presentation forward. You want to have your act together. You want to show that this is my business. This is where I'm going with it. This is where I'm at right now. And let them know exactly where you're at. I mean, this is a handshake relationship because you're building something that you want to grow with them, and you want to find out, because you're actually interviewing them, are you going to be able to help me grow to where I want to be, and do you do the type of financing I'll need? Because this is how I see myself now. I may be 100,000, I may be $1 million company, but in the next 3 years, 5 years, this is how I'm going to be expanding. A firm that I know fairly well sat there and has expanded like 5-fold. So you're talking about a couple 100,000s now doing several million. And if you think about the banking relationship they had, if they didn't tell the bank, I'm getting ready to explode in my business and this is where I'm going to be, they would not have been able to finance a lot of that.
Yeah, and that's a tough thing to deal with when you sit in this great opportunity, but you don't have the cash flow in place and financing to do it, which is something you really want to plan ahead of time, especially for rainy day situations, such as the federal government might shut down on Friday. If you're a federal government contractor, your projects don't get awarded, maybe your work doesn't get done because you can't get access to the federal agency, and you will not get paid during any federal shutdown. Depending on the agency, DoD a little different because they're essential. But any thoughts on the rainy day thing, where you got to be ready for something?
I always believe you should. It's one of my mentors sat there and said, I'm not planning for today. I'm planning for 3-4 generations down. Because I want to make sure that my not only my kids, but my grandkids, my great-great-grandkids are taken care of. Same thing with your business. You want to make sure that you're not looking at how am I doing today. It's like everything like for myself that I'm focused on is 5 years from now. Where am I going to be?
Which brings up the story of exit strategy. Exit strategy is always important. If you want to hand your business off to your grandkids, and that's fine too, and keep it a family-owned business, but you always want to have in place some kind of exit strategy, which is always part of a business plan, especially if you're going after investors, because the investors are going to want to get that feedback. Well, how do you plan to get us our return on our investment?
Yeah, and you want to have that actually in your business plan. It's like, this is my succession plan. I plan to grow my business. I plan to be on it for X number of years. Like for myself, I plan to grow my business for the next 5 to 10 years. Hopefully not that long, but if I could do it in 5, great. And then I want to sit there and say, now, is this something that will run itself? Because that's the way I really want it to be, because my business is really about networking business together and different consultants together to get things done. If it can start to run itself, then I can pass that on to either those other associates that I have, or I could pass it down to my niece and sit there and say, okay, it's yours if you want it. I understand that you're working. She's also working in the federal government, and if she wants to continue that path, that's great. But if I have a business that's producing, even if it's producing residual income, this potentially is going to be yours in the future.
Excellent. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, you need to sit there and really look at if you can be out in the Southern California area at the end of February. It's going to be a great place to be. We're going to have a lot of networking. We're going to have a lot of decision makers, and a lot of different agencies and the commercial side companies have decided they're going to be there, so, or pledged to be there. So we're gonna have a really good show.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to seeing you out there, either from here, where we may be broadcasting a live webcast from representatives here who will be participating. Haven't decided how exactly that's going to work. That's something Al and I have to talk about, but it should be a blast, and it's February 27th and 28th. And just because you mentioned your business, is there a website if people are interested in knowing what you do?
Yeah. I do a lot of my stuff just purely by word of mouth.
Okay. So is there a web address that they should go to?
No.
Oh, you don't have a website?
I don't have one.
Oh, we got to talk about that. All right.